There was glitter in the sink. Not the craft kind. Not gold or silver or something a kid spills during art class. This was a soft violet shimmer, smeared near the drain like it had tried to escape and failed. I noticed it while brushing my teeth the morning after she said she was just exhausted and needed a quiet night alone. No calls. No FaceTime. Just silence, like she was conserving energy. The glitter was the first lie. I didn't say anything. I rinsed the sink, brushed my teeth, pretended I hadn't just felt my stomach lurch over something so stupid. Glitter. Who gets suspicious over glitter? But then I found the charger, her phone charger, in the car. Her car, yes. But she'd taken a rideshare that night. She said she didn't want to deal with parking downtown. I checked the timestamp. Her Uber picked her up at 8:12 p.m., dropped her back off at 2:41 a.m. I had already been asleep by then. She slid into bed like a ghost. I remember rolling over and wrapping my arm around her waist. She didn't flinch, didn't pull away. She just whispered, "I missed you." And I, like a fool, believed it. The next day, she made pancakes. She never makes pancakes. She hates cooking. That's when I started making a list. Not a physical one. Not at first. Just a mental notebook of every glitch in the matrix. Glitter. Charger. Pancakes. The sudden laughter at texts she wouldn't let me see. The outfit she claimed was just something old, but still had the tag inside. Her cologne, which smelled a lot like the men's section at Nordstrom. I didn't even know I could feel paranoia like that. I used to mock guys like that. The ones who check phones, who sniff clothes, who spiral over shadows. But then again, I never thought I'd be engaged to someone who'd lie so casually it started to feel like breathing. The worst part? I wasn't even mad. Not really. Just hollow. Like I'd been replaced, but nobody told me. Like I'd been traded for a weekend version of her. The one with glitter in her hair, who didn't wear the ring. I don't know what made me check the ring box that day. Maybe it was habit. Maybe I just needed to feel grounded. You know, to remind myself that this was still happening, that we were still real. I kept the ring in the sock drawer, tucked inside the box it came in, the kind that clicks shut like it's guarding something sacred. It was still there, but the way the ring sat in it, something was off. It wasn't how I left it. It was turned slightly, rotated in a way that told me someone had opened the box. Maybe even tried it on. And that someone wasn't me. You ever get hit with that kind of realization? Not like a punch, more like a quiet collapse inside your chest. Like your ribs cave in just enough to make breathing weird. I closed the box, walked out to the living room, and just watched her. She was sitting on the floor, surrounded by wedding catalogs, holding a swatch of mauve linen up to the light like it was the final puzzle piece to our perfect day. She looked so peaceful, so convincing. She caught me staring and smiled like nothing in the world was wrong. "Do you think mauve is too old, lady?" she asked. "I want something warm, but not like geriatric." I nodded. I said, "It's perfect." Then I went to the bedroom and locked the door under the excuse of taking a work call. And for the first time in my life, I opened her laptop. Not to snoop. I told myself it was just to prove I was wrong. That all these thoughts were just wedding stress, or lack of sleep, or jealousy poisoning my brain. But browsers don't lie. She'd been Googling clubs I'd never heard of. Ones with names like The Marble Room and Velvet Divide. She searched things like VIP bottle prices and guest list dress codes. One tab was still open, a group message on Facebook titled E's Bachelorette Bash Fire, with a date and a location, 3 nights ago. The night she told me she was sick. There was a video. I shouldn't have clicked it, but I did. She was on a couch, drink in hand, laughing so loud you could barely hear the music. A guy, tall, unfamiliar, maybe late 30s, had his arms slung across the back of the couch. He leaned in and said something in her ear, and she didn't pull away. She leaned closer, smiled in a way I haven't seen since we first started dating. That smile you think is just for you, until it's not. And the worst part? Her friend filmed the whole thing like it was a joke. Like I was the punchline. I didn't close the laptop. I didn't cry. I just stared at the screen until it went dark on its own. Then I looked at my reflection, pale, pathetic, and smaller than I've ever felt. She came in 10 minutes later, knocked softly, asked if I wanted Thai or pizza for dinner. Her voice was light, normal. I told her pizza, because I still didn't know what I was going to do. But I knew one thing for sure. The woman on that couch wasn't coming back to me. That night, I watched her sleep. Not in a romantic way. Not in the God I love her kind of way. I watched like someone stares at a painting that doesn't quite match the frame. Something was off and had been for longer than I wanted to admit. She'd always slept curled toward me, one leg draped across mine, her hair tucked under my chin like we were tangled on purpose. But now, she slept facing the wall, arms pulled in tight, like she was protecting something. I tried to convince myself it was just comfort, muscle memory, but her body was speaking in a language I wasn't fluent in anymore. In the morning, I noticed it immediately. A new scent. Her perfume, different. Not the soft, vanilla sandalwood one she wore every day since we met. This one was sharper, spicier, almost masculine. She caught me noticing. "Oh," she said casually. "Talia gave me a sample. Thought I'd try something new. You like it?" I lied. "Yeah, it's nice." But I knew it wasn't for me. I wasn't the reason she was experimenting with seduction at 8 a.m. on a Wednesday. She left for work. I sat at the kitchen table and stared at my untouched coffee until it went cold. Then I opened her drawer, the one she kept her makeup in. I wasn't even looking for anything. I just wanted to see if the old scent was still there. Something familiar. A trace of the person I thought I was marrying. But I found something else. A wristband. Black, neon print, bent at the edges like it had been pulled off in a rush. Velvet Divide. The same club from her browser history. The date on the side matched the night she said she had a migraine and slept over at her sister's. I held it like it was radioactive. Like maybe I could pretend I hadn't seen it if I put it back perfectly. But that's not how this works. You don't get to unknow a thing once it's in your hands. I didn't confront her. Not yet. I couldn't. Because part of me still wanted to be wrong. Part of me wanted her to cry and say, "I messed up, but I didn't cheat. I swear, I just needed to feel free for one night." Something. Anything. Something to let me rewrite this story in my head in a way that ends with us still married, still in love, still buying matching Christmas pajamas, and arguing about baby names. So instead, I did something small. Pathetic. Quiet. I moved her ring. Just a little. Not far. Just enough so she'd notice it wasn't where she left it. A test. If she asked about it, I'd know she still wore it, still checked it, still cared. If she didn't, well, that night, she didn't say a word. Didn't notice. Didn't look. Didn't care. That's when I realized I wasn't living in a relationship anymore. I was living in a rerun. She was just playing her part. Rehearsed, polished, autopilot. And I was the only one still watching, hoping for a different ending. The day I stopped trusting my own memory was the same day I started writing everything down. Not big things. Not scandals or discoveries. Just details. Tiny moments. I started a notebook, a red leather one from the back of our junk drawer. Every page has a date, a time, and something she said or did. When she got home, what earrings she wore, whether her shoes were the same ones she left in that morning. It sounds insane. I know it does. But you don't understand what it's like to feel gaslit by silence. To lie awake wondering if you're paranoid, or if you're just the last person to realize you've been replaced. Thursday. I'm so tired. She stayed in. Fell asleep on the couch with her laptop open. There was glitter under her nails again. Friday. Going to yoga. Came back with perfect makeup and no sweat. Her leggings smelled like cologne. Saturday. Let's stay in tonight. Just us. She smiled when she said it. Even kissed my cheek. But during the movie, she kept checking her phone, holding it at an angle. The screen lit up 4 times. She never replied. Sunday. I love you, you know. She said it over coffee, just dropped it into the air like a feather. But she didn't look up from her phone when she said it. And I wrote it down anyway, because I needed to remember that she used to say that with her eyes, not just her mouth. I don't even know what I'm looking for in these notes. A pattern? Proof? Permission? But the writing helps. It's the only place she can't lie to me. Because she started doing that, too. Lying in ways that don't even make sense. Like telling me she was at Talia's for wine night when Talia was out of state for a conference. Like saying she lost her earring at work, then suddenly having both again the next morning. I tested her gently. "Oh, I thought Talia was traveling this week." She didn't flinch. Didn't miss a beat. "Oh no, that's next week." She changed her plans. She smiled when she said it. Tapped her nails on her coffee mug. Lied so effortlessly, so softly, it felt like a lullaby. I almost thanked her for it. Almost smiled back. That's when I realized. She doesn't even see me as someone worth lying well to anymore. Just someone to keep calm. Someone to babysit while she lives her second life. I'm the backup singer to her solo act. So I did something I haven't told anyone. I followed her. I told her I had a work dinner, dressed like I was going out, then circled back home and parked 2 blocks away. At 7:42 p.m., I watched her walk out in jeans and a hoodie, phone in hand, like she was just going on a Target run. But she didn't go to Target. She walked straight to a white sedan waiting at the corner. Didn't look around. Just got in like she'd done it 100 times before. I didn't follow the car. I couldn't. My hands were shaking too badly, and I was already tasting vomit in the back of my throat. But I wrote down the plates, the make, the color, the time, and I went home and sat in the dark, staring at the front door, waiting for her to come back like it was all normal. She walked in at 1:18 a.m. Said the wine night went late. Said they played cards and lost track of time. Said she missed me. I asked what they played. She paused, just for a second. Then, gin rummy. Talia hates card games. I wrote that down too. I didn't expect to find anything. That's what makes it worse. I wasn't looking through her phone. I hadn't crossed that line. Not yet. I wanted to hold on to some piece of moral high ground, some scrap of dignity. But my phone, that was different. It was late. She'd fallen asleep on the couch again, or pretended to, with one arm thrown dramatically over her face, like she was exhausted from keeping her other life hidden. Her phone was face down on the coffee table, her hand curled protectively near it. I didn't touch it, I swear. Instead, I opened mine. Just noise, just distraction. I scrolled through old screenshots, notes, old emails I hadn't cleaned up since before we got engaged. And that's when I saw it. A photo I didn't take. It was from 2 nights ago. The timestamp said 11:04 p.m. I hadn't even been home. It was the night I stayed late at my brother's house to help him set up for his kid's birthday. The photo wasn't dramatic. It wasn't explicit. It was just her, sitting on the edge of our bed, fully dressed, looking straight at the mirror, but not into it, through it. Her face was unreadable, not smiling, not sad, just blank, like she'd paused between selves and didn't know which mask to wear next. And here's the thing. I don't remember seeing her wear that outfit. Not once. A short black dress, knee-high boots, a silver chain I'd never seen before. So I did the thing I told myself I'd never do. I opened the metadata. The photo wasn't taken by me. It wasn't saved from a text. It had been airdropped, which meant someone in close range had sent it. To my phone, without a name attached. Just silently dropped in. I sat there for a full 10 minutes, staring at it, as if the image would start speaking. Maybe it would tell me where she went, who she was with, why it was sent to me. Was it a mistake? A warning? A joke? She shifted on the couch. I jumped, slipped my phone under the pillow, and stared at her like I didn't recognize her anymore. Because I didn't. Not really. There was a version of Eleanor I'd known. The woman who cried at animal shelter ads. Who once spent 2 hours detangling Christmas lights so I wouldn't throw them out. Who kissed the corner of my mouth when she thought I was asleep. But the woman on that bed? The woman in that photo? I don't know who that is. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake watching her chest rise and fall, wondering if she could feel me unraveling beside her. If she enjoyed it. If the thrill wasn't in the lie itself, but in watching me pretend not to notice. The next morning, I told her I had to go into work early. I didn't. I drove to a parking lot 2 neighborhoods over and just sat there, staring at the windshield, trying to convince myself that this was salvageable, that people have gotten through worse. But something shifted. It's not that I don't trust her. It's that I do now. I trust that she's lying. I trust that she's not mine anymore. And I trust that whatever I find next will finally end this. The question is, do I want it to? I didn't leave the house that morning to go anywhere in particular. I just drove. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, and I kept making wrong turns on roads I've known for years. It didn't feel like the world was falling apart. That would have at least felt alive. It felt like the world was flattening, like someone had drained all the depth out of everything, and I was watching my own life from behind glass. I kept hearing her voice in my head, that soft, practiced voice, like she was always walking on emotional eggshells, trying not to reveal too much, trying not to crack. But it was something she said last night that haunted me more than the lies or the glitter or the photo. She said she was happy. That exact word. I'd asked her, stupidly, while we were brushing our teeth, "Are you excited about the wedding?" And she laughed, actually laughed, and said, "Of course. I'm happy, Lowell. Not we're happy. Not I can't wait to marry you. Just I'm happy. Period." And it sounded final, like a sentence closing a chapter one didn't know we were writing. I pulled over eventually, outside a hardware store, of all places. I sat in the lot, engine running, for 15 minutes. Then I got out and went inside. I bought a lockbox. Not for anything dramatic. I just needed somewhere to put everything. The notes, the photos, the wedding programs, the RSVP cards that kept showing up in the mail like mocking little envelopes full of memories we hadn't even made yet. I went home. She wasn't there. I packed every trace of the wedding into that box. Every receipt, every floral sample, every email I'd printed for the caterer. I placed them inside carefully, like artifacts from a version of myself I no longer believed in. Then I slid the ring in last. Hers, not mine. She hadn't worn it in days. Claimed her fingers were swollen from too much salt. But I saw her wear other rings. Ones that weren't mine. I locked the box and slid it under the guest bed. Just for now. Just until I could figure out what the hell I was supposed to do next. And then, I did something I never thought I'd do. I texted her sister. We weren't close. Meredith had always been suspicious of me, like I was too quiet, too careful, too boring for someone like Eleanor. But I didn't text her to complain. I just asked her one question. Was she with you 2 Fridays ago? It took 2 hours for her to respond. I haven't seen her in weeks. Why? That was all I needed. Not proof. Not photos. Not even a confession. That was my confirmation. The lies were no longer hypothetical. They were solid now. Measurable. Sharp enough to cut. I stared at the message for a long time. Not because I was shocked, but because of what I didn't feel. No rage. No heartbreak. Just this quiet relief, like my body had finally caught up to my brain. The house was too quiet after that. I sat at the dining table with the lights off, staring at the door, waiting to hear her keys, her boots on the hardwood, that fake cheerful voice saying, "Hey babe, sorry I'm late." But that night, she didn't come home. And for the first time, I didn't wonder where she was. I started planning what happens next. She came back at 2:09 a.m. The headlights cut across the living room through the blinds, and for a second, I thought about flipping the lamp on, standing in the hallway, making her explain, forcing the truth out of her mouth just once. Not the polished version, not the soft one, the real one, the one that burned. But I didn't. I stayed where I was, sitting in the dark kitchen, back against the wall, eyes half closed. Listening. The door unlocked. She came in quietly, like she didn't want to wake anyone, like she still believed there was a version of this where I was peacefully asleep, none the wiser. I heard the soft shuffle of her boots, the click of her phone as she set it down, the rustle of her jacket being slipped off and hung neatly in the hall closet. And then I heard her pause. Long. Still. Like she sensed it. That something was off. That something in the air had shifted. Maybe it was the lack of my shoes by the door. Maybe the energy had changed. Maybe she just knew me well enough to feel the silence pressing in. I held my breath. She moved to the bedroom and closed the door behind her. Locked it. I didn't sleep. Just sat there with a cold cup of coffee in my hands, and my phone screen dimmed to black. By morning, I already knew what I was going to do. I took the day off. Texted my boss that something personal had come up. Then I waited for her to leave. She left around 10:30, dressed casual, hair damp, earbuds in. I watched her through the upstairs window as she got into her car and drove off like everything was fine. Then I went into the bedroom. She'd left her laptop open this time. That surprised me. She was usually cautious. Passwords. Lock screens. Privacy mode on everything. But today, nothing. Maybe she was tired. Maybe she thought I'd given up. That I was too numb to dig anymore. There were no scandalous emails. No confessions. No photos of hotel rooms or messages to strangers. But there was a document. A folder titled Vows Drafts. I don't know why I clicked it. Curiosity, maybe. Torture. The morbid pull of knowing how she planned to lie to me in front of 100 people. But that's not what it was. It was empty, except for one file. A Word doc, last edited at 3:12 a.m. The title wasn't Vows. It was, If I Leave First. I opened it. Inside, a single paragraph. Not finished. Not even properly formatted. Like she'd been typing with trembling hands, unsure whether she wanted the words to live. He doesn't know. He'll never know. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I just wanted to feel like I existed again. He made me feel safe. But safe started to feel like invisible. And I hate myself for it, because Lowell is good. He's good. But I couldn't breathe. I needed to see what else was out there. And now I don't know how to stop. That was it. No name. No dates. Just a confession in limbo. Half written, half real, like she couldn't bring herself to either finish it or delete it. I stared at the screen until my eyes burned. And then I closed the laptop and started packing. I didn't yell, didn't leave a note. I just moved in silence, folding clothes like a ghost, taking only what I needed. No theatrics, no drama. She wanted to feel like she existed outside of me? Fine. I'd show her what it felt like when I disappeared. I left before the sun came up. No drama, no slammed doors, no accusations screamed across the room like broken glass. I packed 2 bags, the lockbox, and the last version of myself that still believed in her. I put them all in the trunk of my car and drove off while the neighborhood still slept. I didn't even look back at the house. There's something sacred about silence when you've lived in noise for too long. For the first time in months, maybe longer, my chest didn't feel like it was holding something in. There was no need to prove anything. No final confrontation. I didn't need an apology, or a confession, or a last-minute breakdown begging me to stay. She'd made her choices. And now, finally, so had I. I drove north. No map. No plan. Just distance. I stopped at a lake 3 hours outside the city. It was quiet, wide, and shimmering with that early morning haze that makes everything feel holy. I sat on a bench with a coffee I didn't finish and opened the lockbox one last time. Inside, the ring, the printed photo she never knew I had, the RSVP cards, the fake vows, and my little red notebook, filled front to back with truths I tried to write down just to stay sane. I took out the ring, held it in my palm for a long time, and then I placed it gently on the bench beside me. Someone else would find it, maybe, or maybe not. Either way, it was no longer mine to carry. And then I did the smallest, bravest thing I could manage. I let it all go. I stood up, took one long breath, and walked away from everything that had nearly erased me. It didn't feel like running. It felt like returning. Not to her, not to who I was with her, but to the person I used to be before I lost myself inside someone else's idea of love. I don't hate her. I don't love her either. But I love this moment. This strange, quiet morning where I can feel my life turning back toward the sun. I thought disappearing would feel like losing, but it doesn't. It feels like finally being found.